on the on the battlefield. So the conference itself was very fraught and very passionate. There were two outcomes, really, of this historical conference. One was to visit the capitals of the countries at war and to plead with the men, as all heads of state at that time, of course, were men, and pleading with them for a ceasefire and negotiations. In that they failed. But the second outcome was this organization, which we are a part of now, and which is over 100 years old, and which has brought together feminism and women's rights and peace and freedom and carried it into multiple venues and headquarters of patriarchy and male chauvinism, demanding that women's voices be heard. Wow, that's a big job. So much more could be said. And I know Theresa is very strict about amount of time spent. Briefly, my father followed in his mother's footsteps, and he founded a newsletter, Toward Freedom, in 1952, initially devoted to the non-aligned movement that attempted to mediate between the West and the Soviet bloc, and which continues as a news website focused on the global South. So WILPF, and you may know all this, WILPF International today has national sections in 37 countries, 17 of them in Africa. Its goal is to make known the causes of war and work for a permanent peace, and to unite women worldwide who oppose oppression and exploitation. WILPF-US has 6 issue committees. I am one of 3 co-chairs of Disarm End War. We focus on nuclear disarmament and militarism in general, and recently have issued a call for peace, urging women to become active in their communities to demand that no city or state money be invested in military corporations. We support the Nuclear Weapons Abolition and Economic and Energy Conversion Act, which is a real mouthful, but that really says it all there. That's in the House of Representatives. And we point out that if we're going to implement the Green New Deal, we have to cut military expenditures. And this is the only bill in Congress that calls for the abolition of nuclear weapons and conversion act. We have to cut military expenditures and demilitarize the police in order to shift resources to crucial societal needs. Recently, we held a well-attended webinar on AFRICOM, which is the US military organization that, from our perspective, promotes conflict in many African countries. Our slogan, together with Black Alliance for Peace, is AFRICOM out of Africa. Next week, we will be following up with a webinar honoring African women who strive for peace. So those are my words, and I think I'm less than 10 minutes, but that's all I prepared to say.
Thanks so much, Robin. And we'll have time for questions and answers later.
Good.
You can also put questions in the chat. So now we'll hear from Jan Quarterman. Jan?
Yes, thank you, George. And also thank you, Theresa, for the invitation to be with you today. It's a very important day, the formal launch of the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. And let me just say, I appreciate being part of this event. There are so many members of SARN here, and knowing that Father Bourgeois, who's been recognized with so many peace awards, and also a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize, and of course for founding the School of the Americas Watch. So comforting to know that he's a member of WILPF now and a member of your branch. We have just been thrilled in our Membership Development Committee to watch this branch come through its founding so quickly. I mean, it was just a couple months. And I think it's a record. And I know that although Theresa's a longtime member of WILF, so many of you came on board just recently. Let me just also say that I'm sure Fannie Lou Hamer would be honored that you've chosen to carry her passion and her organizing abilities forward. And your decision has made me take a look at her work. I should say her abundant work, I might add. And I'm particularly interested as an Iowa person. I'm a member of the Des Moines branch here in Iowa. I was particularly interested in learning more about her work to found the Freedom Farm Cooperative back in Sunflower County in 1969. It was a rural development and political organizing project, and very sustainable. Went on to have a farm, a pig raising program, affordable housing, and a host of supplemental programs. Just a real vision of work. And also that she founded that project because she had to do something after she was fired and evicted, leaving her and her husband penniless because she registered to vote, and that was in 1962. I know Robin already mentioned Senator Warnock, and let me just say, I'm so pleased that he's been appointed to the Ag Committee in the US Senate, and then he'll be working with Senator Booker. I recall his words about his grandmother during the campaign when he talked about the 82-year-old hands that used to pick cotton. Somebody else's cotton went to the polls today and picked her youngest son to be a US Senator. And it's important to us here in Iowa because our branch is working hard to remove our place as the #1 contributor to the nitrogen runoff that creates the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. So these relations to progress being made by Fannie Lou regarding farming is really important to us in our branch. So I think, as Robin mentioned, you're now part of a diverse network of women and men in over 45 countries around the world. Here in our section, you'll be joining over 40 other branches, and we'll all be networking together for women's rights and for sustainable peace. Theresa also wanted me to speak to the work of our WILPF-US board. Well, as a board, of course, it's our responsibility to steer the organization towards a secure future. We want to ensure that that our organization is fulfilling its mission in the most effective way possible. It's also an opportunity for each of us as individual board members and our board as a whole to really have a strong voice and to make a difference in our community. Our vision is that 13 committed women and men work to help steer the organization, and we've been running short with only 6 of that 13. We do have an additional 4 people who act as part of our steering committee. We're very appreciative of their help. And I throw that out. The only requirement is a commitment to serve and 2 years of membership that you'll all be eligible for very soon, and Theresa is eligible for now. And of course, one of your privileges as members is the ability to vote in elections, and one will be coming up very shortly. It will be in the fall of this year. I'm also, as I mentioned earlier, on the Membership Development Committee, and we've got a project going right now, 2 or 3 projects going right now to help build our membership, and we're seeing some success. But you know, I think that the Fannie Lou Hamer branch has done great work and really is gets the blue ribbon for work in that area. So thank you, and I'll stick around for questions and to hear the rest of the program.
Great, Jan. Thanks so much. Theresa.
Well, thank you so much, George. George is vice chair of the Southern Anti-Racism Network, and she's our designated facilitator for pretty much everything we do as an organization. And I would like to let everyone know how happy we are that so many members of the national organization are present. I see we have the chair of the Jane Addams branch present. We have members from Philadelphia, St. Louis, Vermont, and all over. We set a goal of 25 participants in this webinar, this History Month program. And I tell you, Robin and Jan have done exactly what we needed for our new branch. Because the main purpose of our gathering today is for new members of WILPF here in Columbus and in the new branch in formation in Atlanta to get to hear from all of the members in leadership. So we do have time when I finish my brief remarks to hear from most of you who would like to speak. And what I will ask is the members of the Fannie Lou Hamer branch who are present today, I will call on them and they will introduce themselves. I see we have, other than me, 1, 2, 3, 4 other members of the Fannie Lou Hamer branch who are here today. And we have a member of the Atlanta branch in formation who lives in the Atlanta area. So after I finish my brief remarks, I will call on them to do a little 1-minute intro. So what I wanted people to know is that the Southern Anti-Racism Network has made a commitment to build WILPF in the US South. Before we formed our branch here in Columbus, the only branch, actual branch in the South, the Triangle branch, which is over 80 years old. It's been around for a very long time, and it's a very strong branch in the Triangle. That was my introduction to WILPF in the South. I first met WILPF in Cleveland in the 80s. When Ione Biggs and Kathleen Gathers, 2 Black women, were the leaders of WILPF in Cleveland, Ohio. So I always thought for years that WILPF was a Black women's organization because all of us in the Cleveland branch in the late 80s, it was overwhelmingly Black women. And when I moved to the Triangle of North Carolina, it was then that I discovered how big WILPF is and that WILPF is overwhelmingly women of European descent. Well, I do know that Black women have been standing for peace for a very long time. And particularly, we stood strong in the 60s against the Vietnam War. And that is how Fannie Lou Hamer came to the fold of WILPF. And there's a very good book that's written about WILPF. It's called No Peace Without Freedom, Race and the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. And Joyce Blackwell, who lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, she wrote the book. And she was always making the point of Black women's participation and the kind of rocky road that WILPF had from its very beginning in 1915. So WILPF being over 105 years old now, that's important for everyone to know. And she reports in the book that when WILPF was formed, there were 5 Black women in the founding group of WILPF, and that number has gone up and down over the years. And she writes in her book, essentially, 2 types of African-American women joined WILPF. The first group became involved in the peace organization prior to World War II, and either was very active, ascended to positions of leadership between 1915 and 1945. These women established community institutions and advanced the philosophy of self-help. But she also writes to describe the women in WILPF who came up during the period of Fannie Lou Hamer. She says, a different group of African-American women began to join WILPF between 1946 and 1975. Like their foremothers, peace and freedom meant more than simply ending or avoiding war. Social, political, and economic equalities for Blacks were essential to their agenda as well. Unlike their predecessors, however, these African American women aggressively challenged racial discrimination in every aspect of American society. More important, they began to see a distinct difference between the ideology and goals of the peace movement and those of the African American community. It is this group of women that helped propel WILPF into national prominence as they publicly endorsed causes that previously had been given only lip service. Eminent African American activists who joined WILPF after World War II included Sadie Sawyer Hughley, Coretta Scott King, Enola Maxwell, Erna Prather Harris, Fannie Lou Hamer, Angela Davis, Shirley Chisholm, Bessie McLaurin, Eartha Kitt, Inez Jackson, and Virginia Collins. All these women were employed professionals as well, who, like their foremothers, came to WILPF because of their ideological positions. Well, Fannie Lou Hamer, as we learned from the walk-in music, she comes out of a sharecropper background. And the story is told that for that reason, Fannie Lou Hamer felt that she was treated differently inside WILPF. Well, we chose to name the branch after Fannie Lou Hamer because she's from the Deep South, from Mississippi, and she was so powerful and strong in the organization that birthed me as an activist, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And it was through SNCC and her association with SNCC that she committed to building the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. And when she told President Johnson in 1964, when he offered her 2 seats for the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party delegation, she said, "We ain't taking no 2 seats." And she went back, and in the 4 years from 1964 to 1968, she built the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, and they were seated at the 1968 convention. And she didn't just do it for Mississippi, she did it for Georgia and all over the South. So we kicked the Dixiecrats out of the Democratic Party in 1968 because of the work of Fannie Lou Hamer. So Julian Bond led the Georgia delegation at the 1968 convention. So you had people from all over the South because we had passed the Voting Rights Act. So everybody was storming into the Democratic Party convention in 1968 from the South. And it's from that moment that we began to build and build so that Black people hold a special place in the Democratic Party to this date. And when we turn out our numbers in the elections, we get the kind of results that we got in the 2020 elections and what happened in Georgia. So that's the history that we stand on. We stand on the shoulders of Fannie Lou Hamer with that important history. And that's why we wanted this to be our Women's History Month program, honoring Fannie Lou Hamer, our branch named for our sister, Fannie Lou Hamer, who passed away on March 14, 1977. So when we had our meeting on March 14th of this month, we had 3 new members to sign up to add to our 10 members that we already had. And so I believe at least 2 of the new members are here. So I will call on them first to do a quick introduction. So D. Williams, if you could unmute yourself and just tell people your name, where you're from, and then I'll call on Kathy next. So unmute yourself, D. There you are, D. Unmute yourself. Well, D is slow to unmute herself.
Hello, can you all
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, we hear you, D.
I'm sorry about that. Hello, everyone. My name is Diavion Williams, but I go by D. I'm 20 years old and I attend Albany State University. I also just recently became a member of the Southern Anti-Racism Network with Miss Theresa. I'm here just to, do something good for the community, more for our women. It's a lot of things going on nowadays that are out there. It's seen more and it's being talked about more, and I love to be a part of it. And I just would like to thank you all for having me here.
Well, thank you, Dee. So Kathy, introduce yourself. Kathy Caldwell.
Good afternoon, ladies. My name is Kathy Caldwell. I'm from Columbus, Georgia. I recently joined on Sunday. I'm here to make a difference, and I admire the author, Miss Fannie Lou Hamer. I did a little history on her, and also I like one of her special songs were "This Little Light of Mine." So I would like to be a light in our women's organization in making a difference. And thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Now, Alyssa Williams, who is actually one of the branch organizers, and she recruited several of the members that helped to form the first 10 of us. So Alyssa, unmute yourself, turn on your video and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Williams. I am from Columbus, Georgia, and I am just excited. I'm always excited to do things within the community, especially to empower our women. And so this, I felt like, was a perfect opportunity for me to be involved. So I'm glad to be here.
And now we'll ask Deidre Whittlesey to introduce herself. She's actually a board member of the Southern Anti-Racism Network, along with George and I. And so Deidre works with foster families. And so she does that God's work that we need to be done. And so Deidre, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Deidre Whittlesey. I'm here in Columbus, Georgia, and I enjoy making a difference, and I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Deidre. And Deidre has a birthday coming up soon, and we're so happy that she did a fundraiser for the Southern Anti-Racism Network. And Jan, one of the ways that we were able to quickly put the branch together is the Southern Anti-Racism Network Board agreed to pay the first year's dues for several members. So we paid dues for quite a few members at this point, to the total of $420. And we're going to be signing up a few more members. So we've made a commitment of a few $100s to help build branches in the triad of North Carolina, here in Columbus, and in the Atlanta area. We think we'll have a partner in the Atlanta area, but one of our up and coming board members, Shante McLaughlin, who lives in East Point, Georgia, which is in the metropolitan Atlanta area. And Shante is gonna introduce herself.
Good afternoon. My name is Shante McLaughlin, and as Ms. Theresa said, I do live in East Point. You have to excuse me for yawning. I'm running for city council, so I've been out all day doing photo shoots and videos. I am a former radio marketing executive, I have a degree from Georgia State. I'm a community activist, and I'm an on-air personality now. And I'm a mom and a CEO. And thank you for having me. It's a privilege and an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I believe that's all of the members here in the South that we've been recently recruiting. And so, George, I'll turn it back over to you. I don't know if there's information in the chat or questions, but I'm hoping that some of the other officers, like I see Mary Beth Gardam is here. And so we want other officers of the board and other leaders of branches to introduce themselves to the members of the Fannie Lou Hamer branch and those of us here in the South who are working hard to build our branch. So George, it's up to you to recognize people. Thank you.
Yes. I'm going to call on y'all by your first name. And if you care to introduce yourself and say a little bit about where you're calling from and what branch you're part of, you're free to do that. If you want to pass, that's okay too. I don't want to call out or disrespect anyone who's on the Zoom with us now who isn't a member, but be aware that you are welcome to become a member. And one of the people I call on will let you know what you need to do to go online and become a member of WILPF. Because I'm looking at some of you, I know you're not a member yet, but you can be a member. All right, I'm gonna start with Lynn.
Hi, thank you for having this Fannie Lou Hamer discussion. It's wonderful to see all the activity in the South, my goodness. I'm Lynn Sableman. I'm a board member of the St. Louis WILPF. It's a long time group, but it is very contracted now. So we need to do membership building. So I should get in touch with Jan.
Thanks, Lynn. All right then. Mary Beth, you're next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Beth Gardam. I'm a past board member for National WILPF, and I chair the Women, Money, and Democracy Issue Committee. We're all involved with economic justice and feminist economic literacy. We feel like if women understood how the economy works and their role in it, how women really keep the economy going, even though we're largely invisible in it, it would be much better for transforming the economy. We have a partner that we work with, an organization called An Economy of Our Own, and they do, we co-sponsor with them really great webinars about every other month. And we've been working very actively in the area of public banking. There's public banking in the United States is having a moment. There are efforts now in about 5 or 6 different states to put public banking on the map. And we're encouraging our members in those states to become advocates for the legislation that makes those banks possible. We feel like—
About 10 more seconds, Mary Beth.
We meet on the 3rd Tuesday of every month. And if you join WILPF, you're more than welcome to come help work with us. And I'm in Iowa City, Iowa. Thank you.
That was a really good pitch for your team. Barbara?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not actually a member of WILPF, but I've been an on again, off again supporter for, well, actually I put 30 plus, but it's actually probably more like 40 plus years. I'm with the Green Party, and you know, I've been active with these organizations of one sort or another pretty much my whole life. And, you know,
Well, we're glad that you're with us today, Barbara.
and yeah, I keep track of most of your stuff, and I contribute by sharing information whenever and wherever I can. So.
Okay, so if I call your name and you're not a member, you can just forgive me and let go. I know that Ellen Barfield is a member of WILPF, so Ellen.
Thanks, George. It's really good to see you. I am a member, longtime member of WILPF since the late 80s. And I let it go for a little while when there was the kerfluffle about kicking out the unionized staff and all that. But other than that, I've been a member straight through. But you may see behind me the Veterans for Peace logo. That's because I'm about to be on a recording for a workshop for the Commission on the Status of Women, huge UN conference that's going on, that Veterans for Peace is presenting next Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern time, if you're interested. It's about military women being at risk from fellow soldiers. I'm a multi-purpose activist, Veterans for Peace and WILPF and War Resisters League and a whole lot of other things. And I'm originally from Macon, Georgia, so I'm thrilled that there's a new chapter in Georgia, branch, excuse me, and particularly that it's named after Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm the co-founder here in Baltimore of the Phil Berrigan Memorial Chapter of Veterans for Peace. Honoring wonderful people who went before us is a really nice thing to be able to do. So that's terrific. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Ellen. Mary, are you a member? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Yes, I'm in California, and I was a member of the Santa Barbara chapter for years, but now I'm a member of the Jane Addams National Group, and I had just requested that this book be read in a book club, and it was, but I missed it. So WILPF, I don't know which group did this. Maybe it was a Jane Addams. Well, anyway, it's a really great, everyone needs to read it.
Well said, Mary Foster. Thank you. Diane, you're next.
Hi, thank you. Because yes, the Jane Addams group was supposed to read it this month, but because the book is so expensive, and not everyone had read it. We're also going to continue it for next month, the discussion. Okay, and I'm still waiting to get the recording of it to send it to you, Mary, because you asked. I said I would do that. So yes, I'm the convener for the Jane Addams branch, and we are working on that. We also studied the issue committees at first, but we're doing that book right now. So anyway, anyone who doesn't have a specific group that a branch you can belong to locally, it's a virtual group, so you can join the Jane Addams group, which of course Jane Addams was the the one who started WILPF. And every month we have at our meeting we talk a little bit about Jane Addams.
Thanks, Diane. Barbara asked in the chat, what's the name of the book? It's called No Peace Without Freedom by Joyce Blackwell, PhD. Tura?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new members and congratulations to the new branch. I'm very energized to have new people join us. It validates what we've been doing. I've been a member since the early 80s and was drawn to the organization for its position on Palestinian rights, and took a hiatus for a number of years to be on the Jane Addams Peace Association board, which I concluded my volunteer work for last October. Let's go do that work. Thank you.
Excellent, Tura. And Louise?
Hello, yes, I'm Louise Lisi in Philadelphia. And I rather grew up with WILPF. My mother was very active in WILPF. My parents were great activists. And so I even know what political oppression is, because my parents, and we ended up with no money because of the McCarthy era and people being fired. My father was fired. I did not myself become really active in WILPF until I moved back to Philadelphia after having been in New York for quite a while. I find there's so many things to do. My trouble is finding a focus because I can't be active in all of them. So I'm really very, very interested in the Middle East and Palestine, the intersectionality of all oppression and settler colonialism. And I love the idea of naming branches after a person. I think that is a great idea.
It is. Janice. I can see you're trying to unmute, Janice. You'll get it.
And Mary Beth needs to mute.
Well, dang, Janice took off her camera. I know she's trying to unmute. We'll give her a chance. But the next person I see is Pat. Pat, are you a member? Wow. Okay, it looks like you're not muted, Pat, but we don't hear you. I don't hear you. I can tell you're speaking, but there's not any sound. I hear sound now. Go ahead, Pat.
I don't know.
I can kind of hear you, but not fully yet. Yes, now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. But not well. I can hear you, but not well. I'm sorry, Pat. Maybe you can try your phone or put any comments in the chat and I will read them.
Okay.
Thanks. That's frustrating, I know. But thanks for dealing with the limits of technology. I can tell you're trying, but it's just not coming across. How about you, Janice?
Well, finally, I was on my iPad and I just couldn't get the sound on there.
So now we're hearing you on both things and it's reverberating. So now is the technology challenge part of our Zoom, sisters. So you got to mute one of those, Janice.
There. I think that
Okay. That works.
Thank you. I'm sorry for taking so much time. I'm relatively new to WILPF.
Uh-oh. Okay, go ahead.
And I'm in the Des Moines, Iowa branch. And also have been doing a little bit of work on the Disarm Committee as well. And I'm happy to be here today. I really am on to be able to support your branch. I think it's really neat and, you know, would like to just encourage you to gain more members and really do a lot. We're looking forward to it.
Thanks, Janice.
Thank you.
Joan?
Hi. Last night I was on a Zoom and there were two Joans and we weren't sure. So I think you're talking to me, right?
I am.
Thank you. Very much welcome to the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. This is wonderful. And Atlanta will be great too, and others. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I'm active in two of WILPF's issue committees nationally, the Disarm Committee, it's been mentioned, and also the Middle East Committee that Louise mentioned. And also, Janice did not say, but three of us are working on a project which will also coincide with a project that George and Theresa are working on nationally, which is working on racism in general, and also against racism in WILPF where it is or where there are tendencies towards it. Janice and another woman and I are working on a project that will have some speakers at the Congress at the National Congress, which we should mention. That's what we call our conferences, national conferences, which will be in August. And there will be probably three speakers about racism and getting rid of racism. And then George and Theresa have been working on a project to involve branches. And so and that's one project. And then there also is a reading and discussion project that Janice is doing a lot of work on, with a list of lots and lots of resources. And we'll be getting started on that with an e-news article in the upcoming April e-news, which all members should be getting. So if you don't get early in April an e-news, which is an email version of a newsletter, please talk with Theresa and make sure we get you into that system. Anyway, looking forward to lots of work in the future, and very glad to have been able to be part of this. Thank you very much.
Great, Joan. All righty then, Nada.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the new members. Welcome to the new branch in Georgia. Excellent, and I love the idea of naming it after the Fannie Lou Hamer too. I have to tell you, for me, WILPF is an international belonging. I am Lebanese of descent. I lived in the US for 40 years. I belong to the Lebanon branch of WILPF, section of WILPF. I served as a liaison for the Middle East and North Africa region. And since COVID, I've been back to the US, and I've been part of the US section, specifically involved with the Middle East Peace and Justice Committee. And recently we have had an intersection with our sisters in Lebanon in regard to the oppression that's happening in Lebanon and in the Middle East in general. And if any of you is interested to learn more about what's happening in the Middle East, and it would give you an idea to research more, and happy to discuss further, please read our article in the e-news for March. That was the last article. That was March e-news, and it have a nice article about that project, specifically about the oppression and what's happening in Lebanon specifically, and the Middle East in general. I'm happy to be here. Welcome and good luck to you.
Thanks so much for that, Nada. Let me read what Pat wrote in the chat. Pat, whose audio isn't really syncing with ours now. I'm in the Cape Cod branch now, and so excited for Theresa, because a few years ago, Florence Kennedy was visiting Atlanta and tried to connect with WILPF sisters there. I contacted Theresa, and she expressed then that she wanted to rejuvenate the WILPF where she lives. So it is very exciting to see that she's succeeded. Yes, indeed. All right. So I see here Leslie. Leslie, are you a member?
Hello. I'm trying to come on.
We can hear you. Oh, there you are.
Great. Hey, I have been active with the Burlington branch in the past. I'm not currently, but I'm so glad that Robin invited me for today, because I'm very excited for your branch in Georgia. There's so many exciting things happening there. I have been reading recently about transformative justice and just written an article for the blog that Robin mentioned, Towards Freedom, which I think has really important points for us as women, and for women coming together, like the real power of trust between women when we come together and spend time together and building community, and that is all over the world the basis for moving towards liberation.
Got that right, Leslie.
Well, I have learned that from other sisters. But so good luck to you. And I look forward to what goes on down there and everywhere. I'm so excited about the international connections between women in WILPF. I also just want to mention some other work. So when I was part of WILPF in Burlington more actively, we did some plays. Jan Mayer, who's a WILPF member, wrote a play. It was a sort of a documentary play about 100 years of women in WILPF. And it was called Most Dangerous Women. And we did a reading of that. And we also did a play that I wrote about some justice issues in Vermont. And I want to mention, if you don't know you probably know the actress Danny Guriri. I think she was in Black Panther and an Avengers one, but she's also written 2 really important plays about lives of women, Black women in America and also in Liberia at the end of the Civil War. One of them is called Eclipsed, and it was the first Broadway play ever to have an all-female, all-Black cast. Yeah, I just there's
put that in the chat, Leslie. Type that up into the chat for us.
Of course, yeah.
The names of the play.
Okay.
Or the
And
book.
the play.
Thank you.
I will. Thank you. Good luck to you guys, and thank you for stepping up for your community and for your state.
Jean.
I'm just so happy here to welcome Georgia to our group. Well, 2 branches in Georgia now, right? And I'm a member of the Burlington, Vermont branch, as is Leslie, and with Robin, and just happy to be here. I'm very busy now with the Women, Money and Democracy group, striving for better economic equality and to lessen the economic divide in this country.
Indeed. Thanks so much for that, Jean. I think I've recognized all of the WILPF members on the Zoom. If I didn't call you and you want to introduce yourself as a WILPF member, please.
I think there are a couple more from Burlington. No, Jane? Maybe they've left. I'll check.
Okay, let me know. Oh, Jane Henley.
Yes.
Jane, you're talking, but you're muted.
Duh. Anyways, yeah, I've been a long time member, but not active until more recently. The F-35s started me and because they are so unjust. I've been involved in a lot of causes over the years, not mostly, I've been at a lot of protests. I was involved in one of the Waterman takeovers. The Waterman takeovers were UVM, University of Vermont. That is events where students of color rebelled against the lack of professors' courses dealing with issues of color. I've been living in the housing cooperative for almost 25 years now, and I've seen democracy and the issues of democracy firsthand, and see how that's see how that's playing out on a more national scale. It's a really difficult concept, democracy, and I'm just puzzling about it. But anyways, so I guess that's
for being here with us today, Jane. It's really good to see you and hear you. And really good to hear and see everyone here today. There may be other questions or discussion topics that you want to take on. Anything yes, Theresa.
There's someone named Val. There's someone named Val. I don't think we heard from Val either. Yeah, Val.
It's me. I'm just dipping my toes in today. I'm not a member yet. But this is fascinating. And Fannie Lou Hamer is a heroine to me. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear what you're doing.
And where are you from, Val? Where are you from?
I'm from St. Louis, and I've recently been in a book group with Lynn, and we've been studying the book Caste, and it is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. And what about, did Kate, is that Kate Demauli?
Kate Demauli from Charlotte. Oh, and Kate, I saw that you put in the chat something about the Jane Addams branch. You can join the newly forming North Carolina Triad branch. And even you'll be, yeah, so we can talk about that, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Kate Demauli. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I met George through the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival, and I met some of the folks with WILPF in Raleigh during some of the actions that we had for the campaign, and I'm just really love the work that you women are all doing. Really appreciate the opportunity to be on this call and to learn more, and looking forward to getting involved. Thank you.
And George, there's someone named Samantha Turner. I don't think she introduced herself.
Nope. Go ahead, Samantha, if you would.
Yes, I feel the same. Thank you so much for inviting me. What a wonderful, wonderful place to be today. I really appreciate that. History was amazing to hear. And Theresa, I can't tell you, I mean, Miss El-Amin, I don't know you well at all, but I'm really happy to meet all of you. I'm also working with, I'm a co-chair now on the Poor People's Campaign with Kate and George in the South Piedmont circle. And we're working on all kinds of justice issues, housing, and we have to absolutely face these women issues head on. We're ready.
Well, George, this is absolutely wonderful to see the Triad branch in formation. And so there'll be two branches in North Carolina, one in the Triangle and one in the Triad. Great work, George, great work. Robin asked a question about what would be the focus of the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. Well, very sadly, here in Columbus, we've had 19 homicides since January 6th. It is driving us all absolutely crazy. So the Columbus Consolidated Government has decided they will bring in a group called Cure Violence that was formed in Chicago to deal with all of the murders in Chicago, many of which were gang related. Well, we have a similar situation here. Columbus is a city of about 200,000. And last year in 2020, there were 46 murders. We're on a pace at this rate to double that number by the end of the year. And overwhelmingly, the murders are young African American. We have a very high, Jane, you need to mute yourself. So we have a very high level of poverty in the community here. And part of what we decided that we want to take on as a branch is a part of a coalition that the Southern Anti-Racism Network has pulled together called Columbus Organizing Together. And we have some very strong institutional partners to address the issues of affordable housing, education equity, and public safety, public health. We started this collaboration because of the COVID-19. And when the governor opened up the state in April of last year, oh, the numbers just started rising. So we've lost a lot of friends and folks to the COVID-19. So Goodwill, the Columbus Public Library, the Housing Authority, and the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance. Those are our kind of institutional partners in the community. And the mayor has said that he's willing to go into the reserves to get $500,000 out in order to work on the Cure Violence effort. So the Cure Violence people are coming to do an assessment in May, Robin. And so we're gonna be working with them to try to figure out if we can find a community-based model that we can control in the sense that we want some of the grassroots organizations here to be at the table. So the Southern Anti-Racism Network receives funding from something called Crime Prevention for a program we do here that most of us who are in the meeting in Columbus, we work together reaching out to parents, because you really can't work with juveniles without working with their parents. And so we've started a movement of parents we call Strong Parental Involvement in Community Education, to try to deal with education equity issues and academic performance and positive behavior. So that's what we're kind of, it's a state of emergency right now to stop the murders. 19 murders, overwhelmingly young people in their teens, their 20s. And then the main thing we want to work on is dealing with violence against women, because 4 of the murder victims are women, 3 of them because of domestic violence, and 1 an 18-year-old young woman. So we don't know the circumstances exactly. So we're glad that the violence against women reauthorization has taken place recently, because that act will help us a lot in doing cure violence against women and young people in particular. So that's kind of our community-based work. But part of having you here, Robin, and others here is to give an insight into some of the national committees. So I'm glad that Mary Beth talked about her committee and that you talked about Disarm, and George and I are in the Middle East Committee, so we can share the work that's being done there and the wonderful leadership that NADA has given us in terms of working with the Lebanon section. So we want to see different ways that we as members of the branch can get involved in the national structure of the organization. So I am just so pleased that we've had this information provided to the new members of the branch, Robin. So thank you so much for your presentation again, and for you being here. Yeah, we've got to disarm the empire, Robin. We've got to disarm the empire.
Is there anything else that we need to announce or share with folks? Make sure that you save the chat. The name of Joyce Blackwell's book is in there, and a couple of other resources. Robin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to announce that next Friday at 2:30 in the afternoon, we're having this webinar. It's going to be a different kind of event. It's honoring African women who strive for justice. And you can be a man or a woman who wants to honor an individual. The individual can be alive or dead or in prison or in hiding. And we have one who is in prison in Cote d'Ivoire. The other is in hiding in Uganda. And so far we have a a fabulous woman coming on, and each person can talk for like 5 minutes or so about Wangari Maathai. She's a filmmaker who lives here in Vermont, Lisa Merton, and she's made the full-length film on Wangari Maathai. So she will show a few clips about Wangari during her moment of honoring Wangari Maathai. So, you know, if you know of someone you'd like to honor, so far we're sort of trying to have 15 people officially honoring someone, but we can probably fit more. It's an hour and a half, like most webinars. So come on, and I will, how do I do it? To send to all of you. I'll send this to Theresa and she will send it to everyone.
Yes, if you get us the information, we can email it to everyone on the call and everyone who registered.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, Jan, I see you, but first, Deidre asked me to share how you share the chat, how you save the chat. So here's what you do. Down at the bottom of your screen, I'm not sure about this on the phone. I've never done it on the phone. But down at the bottom in your screen, there's chat. When you select chat, if you look where it says to and look to the right, you'll see 3 little dots, little faint dots. And if you hit those dots, one of them is save chat. So you go to the chat, to the right, 3 little dots. One of them is save chat. You hit that. All right, there you go. The bummer is if you get kicked off the Zoom, when you come back, you lose the chat. I will save the chat and I've been on the whole time. So if you didn't get it and you need it, you can email me and let me know, and you'll have my email address because I will be emailing you whatever it is that someone, oh, Robin Lloyd said you need to get emails just now. All right then, Jan?
Yeah, thanks for George for putting me back on. I just wanted to say that we've got a effort going called One by One We Grow, and everybody's invited to join with us. We meet once a month and share successes and challenges and share tips. We've got 2 experienced organizers working with us, and it's the second Wednesday of every month, 5 p.m. Pacific to 8 p.m. Eastern. And just let me know if you'd like to be included. I did put my email and my phone number in the chat. And of course, we'd love to have you join our committee, One by One We Grow. Thank you.
Excellent. Anyone else have an announcement?
Well, George, Mary Beth is raising her hand, I think. So let Mary Beth go and then I'll go after Mary Beth.
All right then, Mary Beth.
I wanted to say that the next An Economy of Our Own WILPF-US webinar is Monday, March 29th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. It's called Creating Money and Blowing Big Bubbles. It's all about monetary reform and that whole Robin Hood Reddit gambit that everybody heard about. They're going to explain a little bit about how that worked and about the bully boy sensibility of Wall Street bankers and investment houses and why women are sidelined. So the registration page for it is in the chat. But if you go to www.aneconomyofourOwn/events, aneconomyofourOwn.org/events, you'll be able to register for that conference. It's free.
Thanks a lot, Mary Beth. Theresa?
Well, I want to tell everyone about another Women's History Month program organized and sponsored by the Southern Anti-Racism Network. One of the struggles that we're having right now in this country is Yeah, George is posting the announcement there. And I wanted to ask George if there's an actual link that she can put in the chat so that people can have a link to the registration. That would be good. But Robin Lloyd and Joan Goddard have attended previous sessions of this series. We're calling the Umoja Unity Talks of the Black Liberation Movement. And we welcome allies to listen in on the conversation. And at this Women's History Month special event, we're going to have 3 women who are former political prisoners. One, when there was a shootout in Jackson, Mississippi in the early 70s, and the political prisoners from that shootout were called the RNA 11 for the Republic of New Africa, a new formation that had just formed in 1968 to work on Black liberation throughout the United States. And one of the women who will be speaking, Tamu Kanyama, she was a political prisoner from that event. And then there will be 2 women who were recently released after quite a few years, Janet and Janine Africa, who are with the MOVE organization. And so they were part of the MOVE 9 that were political prisoners for many decades. At least one died in prison. And so they will be on the speakers list. And the person who is doing a lot of organizing around We Charge Genocide, and she's going to be giving a special report on that. So there'll be 4 women speaking at next week's event, and that's between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. next Saturday. And so George has everything up there. I don't know if she's able to put anything in the chat or how she can do that, but we welcome all of you to register. I believe Joan may be registered already. Robin has been registered in the past, and if she can do it, that would be great. Ellen Thomas has been a part of the sessions and she has registered. So anyone is welcome. It is mostly people of African descent who are part of this, leading it, and all of the speakers are women of African descent, African Americans. And so this is a way for us to try to build unity for freeing political prisoners. There's a woman in the Bedford Hills prison in New York, Reverend Joy Powell, who has been a political prisoner for many years. So there are women political prisoners, in addition to the celebrated Mumia Abu Jamal, Imam Jamil El-Amin, Russell Maroon Schultz, and the list is quite a list. And many of them are elderly and ill, and we're trying to get them out. So that is what these talks are about. And this is our 4th session, and we'll be going through to August with these sessions, and they're sponsored by the Southern Anti-Racism Network. So we are very proud of our alliance with WILPF. And so we invite WILPF members. We don't just invite anybody and everybody to come, but we are inviting WILPF members to these talks so you can get a better sense of the work that the Southern Anti-Racism Network is doing, since we're kind of sponsoring these branches in the South as we're building. So that's why we want you to kind of see what our other life is like in terms of working for peace and freedom in the Black liberation movement. Thank you, George.
So I posted the registration link in the chat. Samantha said it didn't work for her. So I reposted it and took it from the Zoom website. Someone test it for me and let me know if it's working. And if we don't have anything else to share, I will share my screen with y'all and let you hear this great song or a mantra or a chant, the Fannie Lou Hamer song that Sweet Honey and the Rock do. That was my morning chant this morning when I woke up and was doing my prayers. It was wonderful. So is the link working? Did someone test the link?
I tested it. It's not working.
Wow. That's the link from the Zoom page.
It worked for Leslie Baker. Leslie Becker said it worked.
It worked for someone. I heard the word it worked.
Yeah,
Raise your hand. It worked for Barbara. It worked for Joan. Shantae, I will email you it again. And Samantha, I'll email it to you again. I don't know why it wouldn't work. It might have something to do with your browser. These are things I don't know, but I've heard that before. Google and different browsers and Apple, and it's beyond me, but I will send you an email invitation, Shantae, and you too, Samantha. Jan, are you trying to say something? You're muted, Jan. Mary Beth could not get the link to work. This is really troubling.
Do you think, George?
Louise?
Do you think you could just email it to everybody on the call? Because
I will.
I know it won't work if I try to do it from the chat because of the way my whole Zoom and everything works together.
Okay. Then I will just email this to everyone on this list. You'll get the email, before late tonight. It won't take me that long after this call is over. Oh. Mary Beth says, if I just click on it, it works, but it doesn't work. Wait a second, I lost the.
Well, recognize Jan.
Go ahead, Jan.
Well, when I just click on it from the chat onto the chat, it does not work. But when I copy it and put it in my browser, it does work. Put it in a new.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's just the opposite for me. When I click on it, it does work, but when I cut and paste it into the browser, it doesn't.
I will still email it to all of you, and along with the flyer so that you can share it with other people and get them to register. And yes, Leslie, technology is great. Oh my goodness. But here's a piece of technology I like sharing. Last call, if there's anything to say before I put on this music and then say goodbye. I like being able to share the screen and listen to music together.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
But I was so busy trying to get the Zoom working that I closed the window. It's just a matter of seconds. Here we go, yay. All right.
And what is it, George? It's like about 4 minutes?
It's 4 minutes and 37 seconds.
Okay. Well, that'll give people a chance to save the chat and everything.
True. Thank y'all. Good night. After this, I'll say goodbye.
Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer. On this little light of mine, her song Whitfield, yeah. She rocked the state of Mississippi. Now a few more black people stand there. Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer. driving down on a white man's farm. She received threats on her life, was fired from her job, scorned and kicked off the farm. Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's what the lady would yell. Her body was beaten and she walked crippled, trying to vote. She was thrown in jail. Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer. Land of the tree and home of the slave, she criticized the law of the land. For 100 years, blacks had lived in fear. Now they marched, took their lives in their hands. Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer. She came by here and she didn't stay long. Helped to turn a few things around. Cancer took her body, but the struggle got her soul. Now we've laid her body in the ground. Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer, Fannie Lou Hamer.
Bye, y'all. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much. Stay well.
All
Good
righty.
night.
too.
Thank
Be
you,
safe.